What's the most unreasonable demand you have ever had from a roommate? Story 1. That they should get the master bedroom because they are older. 10 years or so ago, my girlfriend and I were wanting to live together. We wanted to do it properly and spend a lot of time and money getting ready, buying furniture, appliances, kitchenware, bedding, cleaning supplies, etc. All the things one needs to fill a house. Towards the end of this process, when we were actually house hunting, the idea was hatched that my girlfriend's older sister and her boyfriend should move out with us. We found a house that we liked, applied to rent it, and got in. The day of the move came, and it became apparent that both couples assumed that they would get the bigger, better master bedroom. Their argument? We're older. Our argument? We found the house, did the legwork, completed the application, and the whole thing was our idea. Their counter-argument? But you get to have the carport, and we don't. Our counter-argument? Neither of you even have a car or a license. Plus, we're supplying this house with all of its furniture, appliances, cookware, cutlery, crockery, and everything else for us all to use. You have only brought a bed, your clothes, and a TV. The TV started off in the living room, but they soon moved it into their own room, so we didn't even get to use that. 6 months later, we moved out after buying a house, and they stayed. Obviously, we took everything with us when we left. They literally couldn't believe that we would be taking our own things with us. They wanted us to leave things behind for them to have. In the days leading up to us moving out, we had things packed away in boxes. They would go through the boxes, take out a knife, chopping board, pots, pans, plates, etc., and cook a meal with it. Then when I came home and asked why my packed boxes are all over the place and now need to be cleaned again, they got mad at us for packing things away. After we left, that place was basically empty. They didn't even have the foresight to buy a fridge, let alone all the kitchenware needed to cook and eat food. We did end up selling them the dining table and chairs as we bought a new one for our new house. But they were the only chairs they had for a long while. No couch or armchairs. Not even a cushion or a beanbag. And because neither of them had a car or license, it was very difficult for them to buy things and get them to the house. But of course, this was all our fault for not donating half our stuff to them when we were just putting ourselves $220,000 in debt. They ended up breaking up. The missus and I are still together in the same house we bought with our 3 kids. Just because we're older. Nope, just because you're older is not an excuse, not after all the work that got put into that. Just because we're older, we have a right to the fruits of your labor. Nope, doesn't even work. And it sounds like they warned them well ahead of time to get ready for this change. Nope. Story 2. I have so many stories, but here is one of my favorites. I moved in with an actual crazy cat lady who was housebound because of a spinal issue, and apparently at the time of my moving in hadn't been outside her front door in 2 years. In the ad, she indicated she was in a wheelchair. She was not, and could actually still get around fine, just not quickly. She was very obese and I'm sure had some mental issues. The house was in a quiet suburban area tucked away in a corner at the end of a row, so not the easiest target for random break-ins. Despite this, she insisted I double lock the door every time I left the house, even to go to the corner shop for 5 minutes while she was sat a very few feet away in the lounge watching TV. She was pretty much never left that spot, except to haul herself to the kitchen to microwave another supermarket brand pasta pot, or upstairs to bed in the early hours of the morning. One day, about a month after I moved in, I was in a rush leaving for work and didn't double lock the door. I came home as normal, and as I walked in, she abruptly turned off the TV and turned to look at me with a crazy look in her eye and said, "You forgot to lock the door today. I told you to always lock the door." I said, "Sorry, I was in a rush. I'll remember next time," etc. And she continued, I'll have you know someone broke into the house and threatened me with a knife, tried to unalive me and my cats. I questioned the details, trying to figure out if this was hogwash or not, and she kept throwing up vague answers about a man and, oh well, the police were here, but they couldn't do anything. They didn't bother writing a report, and technically nothing got stolen, but he could have easily done. You're lucky he didn't, otherwise you'd be paying for my flat-screen TV and my cats. He could have taken them. I pretty much half baffled, half terrified laughed at her, and she demanded I leave her house immediately for being disrespectful to her and her cat's potential unaliving. I refused, so she threatened to throw my stuff out the window, which I welcomed openly. And she shut up and did nothing. I slept with a barricade in front of my bedroom door until I moved out 2 weeks later, because all she did after that was mutter under her breath about hating my guts, and I was convinced she was going to stab me in the night in revenge for her cat's made-up expirations. Lock the door while she's in the house. She can't get up and lock the door herself. Or she doesn't want to. She just thinks that she's got someone that's going to do stuff for her. Nope, it's so bad that this person had to barricade themselves in their bedroom. Have you ever had that situation where you've had to lock yourself in your room while dealing with a crazy roommate? Story 3. I met my first roommate on Craigslist. First red flag. I wasn't allowed to keep music above volume 10 after 9 or 10 p.m. She, however, sang gospel songs loudly in the living room until 4 or 5 in the morning. Every single day. I had to open my mail in front of her, otherwise she'd open it because it looked important. Aside from this being totally illegal, why the hell do you need to read my bank statements? She'd text me when I got an Amazon package. Oh, your shoes got here. Because she'd open it and dig around before I got a chance to. She never cleaned. Her mother still came over every weekend to clean her bedroom and bathroom. She'd let her trash accumulate near her spot on the couch throughout the week. Clearly, she didn't give a care about her living environment. But heaven forbid I put the television remote anywhere besides the right arm of the couch. I wasn't allowed to turn the heat on in the winter to save money. I live in the mountains of North Carolina, and winters are pretty harsh. She would rather freeze than pay an extra $15 per month. Over the summer, though, I wasn't allowed to open the windows so no one breaks in. My apartment was either in the 50s and 60s or the 80s. She didn't like when I used the kitchen to cook. Weird, but she would hand wash her period panties in the kitchen sink, even though we each had a private bathroom. Curse you, Rebecca. Her mom would come over to clean the bedroom and bathroom for her? Did her mom own the place and was just charging this woman rent? I don't understand that, and maybe that's why she feels like she has the right to do whatever she wants to in that place. Is at least the lease in her name? I kind of think that the lease is going to be in the mom's name. That's probably why. Story 4. Not really a demand, just an awful roommate. So I was in the dorms in college. I roomed with this dude who I didn't know. This dude played football and was about 300 plus pounds. Well, the problem is, he wouldn't shower. Ever. Like no freaking joke. Our room smelled like hot mayonnaise and BO. I would spray and clean. Well, eventually, I got nose blind. This mother-friender finally got a girl to come to the room. When she asked him why it stank, I heard him whisper, "It's him." I absolutely blew up. I asked the old girl whose side looked like it would stink. My side was spotless while his was full of half-eaten food and sweaty clothes. She ended up agreeing and leaving. The only cleaning he did was when he would come back from practice and take off his sweaty clothes. He would then proceed to Febreze them, then go take a nap. Luckily, the room was really big. Finn, I expired inside when you said it smelled like hot mayo. You have my utmost sympathy as someone that hates mayo with every fiber of my being. And that guy sounds like an absolute douche. Story 5. Not me or any roommate situation I've had, but you know when you have a friend complain about something and you only hear their side of the story? If you still think they're wrong, they must be extra wrong, right? My friend S told me that her roommate forgot his keys at home one night. This sucks because he works late. He rings the doorbell, she wakes up all angry, opens the window and says, "Oh, that's too bad, but it's late. Go back to your office to sleep." Rather than just accept his apology and open the door, she told him to go back to his workplace, sleep there, and just come home some other time. She was telling me this story as if I'd be like, "The nerve of this guy trying to come home." Instead, my initial reaction was, "Man, that's absolutely annoying that he woke you up," which very quickly changed to, "What the whole hell is wrong with you?" by the end of the story. There's a fun thing about conversation. If you just agree and offer empathy, people will tell you just about anything. Then you can tell them what an awful person they are. Story 6. Not yet a roommate, but started to make outrageous demands. There was a time I was leasing out the spare bedroom of my house, and here were the few weird, crazy requests I got. Elderly lady thought the room for rent also includes me to take care of her as a caregiver and drive her around. She also demanded I install an ADA ramp on my porch. A couple was so sure I would select them as a roommate. I told them of my no pets policy, went to my yard, and started to plan out how they planned to fence off a section for their doggy. "Hello, lady, this is my home." Got mad when I told them I was turning down their application. For your information, I have nothing against dogs. I have cats that happen not to play well with others, hence the no pets policy. Had an actual roommate that refused to pay the bill because she was broke and would close the door on me and expected me to pay for her part. Yet she was out all night partying and getting expensive weaves. She left her email open at my PC and I saw the cost. Told her I can't pay her part and we will get evicted if the rent is not paid on time. She left a week later. With the ramp lady, if she didn't expect you to be a caregiver under the Fair Housing Act, you may have been required to do it. Maybe not, though. There is a restriction for landlords that own over 4 homes. Whatever. I've added nothing. Well, that's kind of a blessing in disguise. Once they thought they were locked into that position and started making all these demands, you got a glimpse of what they were actually going to be like had you let them in. After that, there was almost no way to get them out easily. I think you dodged a couple bullets there. Story 7. Had an actress roommate who on random Saturdays or Sundays said she needed the entire apartment to herself to study her lines. I rarely had anyone over to begin with, as I was usually out and about. But this particular Sunday, there were like 4 of us in the living room watching Mythbusters. I only include this to show that it's not like we were watching NFL screaming or shouting being drunk. She legitimately thought this was not okay and that everyone should leave to accommodate her. Anyone who thinks like this should live by themselves. I'll never understand how people who want to split costs to save money still think people should accommodate them. When I have roommates, I realize that if I want peace and quiet, I sometimes need to remove myself and go to the library or something. That's the price you pay to save money. I had a roommate who didn't want me in the common area, the living room/dining room and kitchen, because she studies there even though all of our rooms came equipped with desks for the purpose of studying. We never got to use the dining table because her stuff was always on it. I told her I wasn't going to stop using the common area, and she said I was rude. Oh well. Story 8. I moved in first to our 3-person dorm room, so I picked the prime bed. None of us knew each other before this. We were all in a bind for housing. And lo and behold, she and her family shows up and gives me the stink for having the gall to take the good bed. I got along really well with my other roommate, but this girl started using all our stuff and staring at us when we slept or did homework. We got ants because she never cleaned the kitchen. She would hide dirty plates and bad food in the back of the very deep pantry instead of cleaning or throwing it away. She wouldn't let us have friends over, but felt the need to loudly talk on the phone at all hours. I lost it when she left a pair of sweatpants on the floor of our shared closet with actual poop in them. We searched for a different room for her and made her move out. I still have the hate letter she wrote me the day she left. Post the letter. Story 9. 3 weeks before I was to move out of a place, my replacement moved in. My roommate had apparently told her it was okay, so now 3 people live in an apartment meant for 2. From what I could tell, all she did was sit on the couch and watch TV. A week before I was to move out, a friend of mine came over to help me pack. Apparently, the replacement thought I was moving out that day and that she could finally move into my room instead of sleeping in a common area. When she found out that wasn't the case, she got upset with my friend. Over the next week, she asked me repeatedly, "So when are you moving out?" I told her it would be the end of the month because I couldn't move into my new apartment until then. She said I should have moved out sooner. What I think happened is my roommate told her I was moving out the prior month and that I was overstaying my welcome. For your information, if your former roommate was collecting double rent, that's usually pretty illegal. Sounds like there was no communication. Did she just let this person know that they were going to be staying over there? Was there any communication about the living situation? I tend to agree with this person's last statement. I think that first roommate was collecting double rent. Kind of sneaky. And yes, I agree, illegal. Story 10. My current roommate. I own the house, and I did a buttload of work to clean out the garage so I could turn it into a man cave. He did absolutely jack to help, and most of the work was cleaning up piles of recycling he never took out. Now it's cleared, he wants to park his car there, but there's actual stuff taking up half of the garage, so only he would be able to park in there while the other roommates and I park on the street and not use the driveway so he can get in and out. He thinks I'm being unfair by not letting him park there. Also, he cooks and never cleans and has more than once let leftovers rot in my Tupperware and then thrown it out instead of cleaning it and not replacing it. My ex-roommate did this with all my forks. Only ate takeout. Couldn't be bothered to wash a freaking fork. I hate her.
Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 11. We had several rooms, and one was huge, meant for 2 or 3 people. It had a sink and 2 walk-in closets. After signing the lease, she announced that she needed that giant room to herself because she has PTSD and OCD. She wouldn't explain herself any further and threw a passive-aggressive tantrum for a month when we refused to cram ourselves into the 2 tiny rooms with 4 people so that she could have the big one to herself. We told her that she could be in the big room with another roommate, but she didn't want that. She just chose the small room eventually. We never heard the end of it either. It was always our fault that she was late to school because she didn't have a private bathroom and stuff. Before you ask, yes, this person was in therapy, but according to her, she was in therapy because she needed to learn to be less selfless and put herself first. She'd frequently use that as an excuse to be selfish. My therapist thinks I need to put myself first. Story 12. When I was a freshman in college, I lived in a dorm suite with 4 other girls. 3 single rooms and 1 double, which I shared with a roommate. One of the girls who lived in the single rooms was a real piece of work. Every slight change in the suite would drive her nuts, and she'd always be knocking on our door demanding an explanation for some minute thing or another. One time, she knocked on my door only to show me a tiny scrap of ham and a piece of cereal pinched between her fingers. "There was meat and cookie crisp on the kitchen floor. Is this yours?" "Yes," I said. "You can throw those away." I also came home to her crying in the living room once because another of our suite mates put a monster poster on the front door for a Halloween decoration, and it scared her. I guess those things don't sound too out of context, but she'd knock to tell me she moved my food from the table to the counter and just general tiny stuff like that. Very strange. Story 13. I had a roommate who moved out without warning about 2 months before my lease was up. She pretty much disappeared and left most of her stuff in the apartment. She also did not pay up for her remainder of rent. 3 years later, I got a phone call from her. I'm living 1,500 miles away and have been in several different apartments in several different states during the interim. She says I need to ship her all of her furniture and belongings immediately. What do you mean you dragged everything out to the curb the week after I left? You're a terrible roommate. You owe me for the value of my things. I stopped answering her calls and eventually she gave up. I would have sold them all. Story 15. My freshman year in college, he insisted on having 2 box fans placed in our open window, one facing in, one facing out, in order to circulate the air. Seems like no big deal, right? Until you realize that he insisted they be on full power every night of the year. Didn't matter if it was August or January. Didn't matter if it was 100 degrees outside or -10. My bed was the closest to the window, and if I tried to get up to turn them off, he would get hostile AF. Curse that guy. Shove one fan up his butt and the other down his throat to circulate the air. Story 15. On move-out day my sophomore year of college, I was cleaning my half of the dorm room. Mind you, the room had been a mess before. Both me and my roommate were messy people, so the mess itself didn't bother us much. So cleaning my half took quite a while. By the end of it all, my stuff was packed in my car and I was ready to go. When I was done, my roommate said, "I'll have my stuff packed up in an hour." I asked her why she was telling me that, and she said it was so I could finish cleaning. I took one look at her, set down the bag of cleaning supplies, and said, "Here's all the stuff you need." Then I turned in my key and left. Like heck am I going to stay behind an hour later than I needed to mop the floor and clean the surfaces of your side of the room when you did jack all to help me. Story 16. I planned to spend my birthday evening quietly reading and watching Italian unaliving mysteries. Roommates announced I needed to go make plans because they were having friends over and didn't want it to be awkward. The friends they were inviting were always incredibly rude to me. So I smiled and said, "Sure, I'll make plans," and invited 3 of our neighbors and half my creative writing class over to eat cake and watch Italian unaliving mysteries. And my awful roommates had to go to their friend's apartment instead. Malicious compliance. Story 17. My first semester of college, I had a roommate who was only 18. When he found out I was old enough to buy alcohol, he came up with a grand plan for me to buy alcohol so he could throw amazing parties. Did he plan to give me any money for these purchases? No. Was I going to be invited to these parties at our place? No. In fact, he was planning on having them all the weekend so I wouldn't be at our place. When he moved out, his parents both damaged some of my electronics and stole some of my stuff. So I assume his entire family is a bunch of buttholes. Story 18. We should hang out more. Dude, we literally see each other every day. And we have the exact same schedule, so virtually any time I'm home, you're home too. I don't know what you want from me. And this was well before it was common to watch shows on your phone or computer. We had one TV, and we would be in the living room together almost every day. No, I mean we should hang out more. Places his hand on yours slowly. Story 19. He wanted his girlfriend to move in rent-free. This girl used my cookware and never cleaned it. She took forever in the shower. We put an end to that real quickly. My roommate had her hookup move in with us without consulting me. Wondered why this dude was at our place 24/7 and found out from my other roommate that he was now living with us. We never saw a dime from him, and she probably didn't either. Story 20. I have the master bedroom with the bathroom and pay $65 more a month for this. My roommate, whose room is on my side of the house, gets to use my bathroom because we agreed he could. He lets his one-night stands and drunk friends walk through my room when I'm not there to use the bathroom rather than the other one closer to the front door. I'm now missing 2 phone chargers and a pair of $100 headphones. But I'm missing them because I must have misplaced them. Story 21. Had a roommate in college who refused to take his keys with him when he went out to the bar because he didn't want a lump in his pocket. He would then come home after everyone else was already asleep, and when the doors were locked, he would start pounding on the door and shouting, "This is bullscat! I frickin' live here!" until he woke somebody up and got them to go downstairs and let him in. Oh, curse me, that would not fly. Story 22. This happens every time I move in with someone. Every single time. They tell me I don't do any dishes ever, which is true. What I have to keep reminding them is that I have one plate, one bowl, one fork, one knife, and one spoon. Keep them in my room at all times. Always wash them immediately after I'm done using them and bring them right back to my room. Always hilarious to hear their response. Story 23. Not really a roommate, but a little stepbrother. He's 12. He wants to rotate beds from week to week. So I sleep in my bed, then the next week my other stepbrother's bottom bunk, then the next week his top bunk. I don't want to sleep in either one of your beds. That's why it's called my bed. Just go to sleep. Clearly you have the best bed. Story 24. He wanted me to do his laundry each week while he was gone because of his ever-changing work schedule. If I didn't do his laundry, he'd help himself to my underwear and socks if he ran out, and just start wearing my stuff without asking until I did his laundry. Wearing another man's underwear without his consent should be a criminal offense. Story 25. He was a germaphobe and a bit stupid. He wanted all the other housemates to completely scrub the tub with cleanser after we took a shower so he wouldn't come in contact with butt wash water or something. We laughed at him and told him he could disinfect the tub himself before he showered if he was so worried. Story 26. She told me I needed to stay somewhere else overnight because her new boyfriend was staying for the first time. I said if she'd given me more notice, then I could have maybe sorted something, but she'd told me 2 hours before I needed to leave. So what did you do? Story 27. He, 36 male, said that he was okay with me getting a cat, so I was looking online at some shelter cats. I found this orange 5-year-old cat who needed a home, so I was excitedly talking to him about it when he tells me that I can't get this cat because he is allergic to the orange ones. Story 28. That I leave my collateral when I move out. I'd get it when she moves out as well, in case there are any issues caused by you I don't notice when you move out. Say what? How about you totally check it properly then? Story 29. I had one roommate announce one day that he was going to stop paying his share of the rent. I explained that no rent equals no room. He thought that was unreasonable and went around telling people I was cold. Butthole. Story 30. One roommate would leave the house without their keys, not because they forgot them, but because he did not like having keys. Ever. The request was to stop locking the door when I left the house. Story 31. My roommate wanted me to freeze all food trash. Like, not even take it out so the can doesn't smell. He wanted it piled up in the freezer until trash day in little plastic bags. Some cereal unaliver stuff. Story 32. My cousin kept losing roommates. Moved to help him out. Requested I don't flush the toilet after 8 because if not, he couldn't sleep. I noped the hell out of that. Story 33. That I try having physical intimacy with him. For clarification, I'm a straight guy and didn't know he was gay. He said that I might like it, but I'd never know if I didn't try it. Story 34. Bit late here, but I had a female flatmate get quite irate about the hair in the shower drain, which was hers. I am bald. She expected me to remove it for her.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.